So thank you for being here in person today. I know many more people are going to watch this talk as today what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about my upcoming course, Mindfulness in These Times, a 3-week course for finding balance in times of instability. I'm excited to talk about it, actually. The world is always crazy, as we know. The older we are, the more we know that. But I think many of you are probably experiencing some version of what I've been experiencing lately, was just feeling like I'm more aware of it. Feeling like the issues of the day are making it less possible for me to ignore how many atrocities are taking place and how grave they are. More so than I have felt in a very long time, as a person who's had a kind of a love-hate relationship over the decades of my adulthood, with staying in touch with current events or not being in touch with them at all. More so than I have ever felt, I feel this painful conflict inside of myself. Because there's a part of me that really wants to be abreast of exactly what's happening, like day to day in Sudan and the Congo and Gaza. And there's a part of me that feels how toxic that is. There's a part of me that can't deny how painful and even debilitating at times taking that in day after day after day can be. Everywhere I go and everywhere I teach now, whether it's other sanghas or businesses or podcast interviews, everybody wants to talk about this. How can we practice? What does our practice call us to in times like these? In times like these. And so I've had some time to think about it. I've heard myself give dozens of different answers to the same question because there are so many, and it is so personal. We are not Zen robots or mindfulness machines. We're human beings, for better and for worse. For better and for worse. And so I've spent some time putting together this course that I hope many of you will join me on over the next 3 weeks. Mindfulness in These Times. I break it up into three weeks, and so therefore 3 components. The first, and by far the most important, I just call understanding ourselves. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh wrote a beautiful book about the mind called Understanding Our Mind. And when it was originally published, the title of it was Transformation at the Base, right? Transformation at the Base. And I love knowing that, right? Because I see the parallels. If I want change to really happen on the other side of the world, how can I expect that if I have not cultivated the tools to change myself, to change my own heart? I have to understand and love myself before I have much of a chance of understanding and loving other people. Not to say that I will ever or can ever understand and love myself perfectly, and then I should wait for that perfection before I take some action or stance or communicate in any way. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the efficacy, the quality, the power of any actions that I take out in the world are all directly proportional to how much I'm loving myself internally. If I'm not practicing that at all, for example, well, then my actions tend to be reactionary and destructive and escalating even, when exactly what I desire is de-escalation and harmony. Thich Nhat Hanh said it very beautifully: peace in oneself, peace in the world. Peace in oneself, peace in the world. And so week one is going to be all about that. Understanding that, ways that we can practice that, obstacles, real obstacles to understanding and embracing that, because that's not easy. Right? It's not easy to look in the mirror and really get to know ourselves. It's much easier, right, to read the proverbial newspaper. I go to make this gesture, but I can't remember the last time I actually opened a newspaper. Read the newspaper as he swipes his thumb. It's so much easier, right, to look at this quote-unquote news that's coming our way, right? This information that's coming to us through the internet, generally for most of us these days, and to just rail against the things we don't like, right? And it's really easy then to find other people who are more than happy to do that with us, right? I know every single one of us here has been on that call or been across that coffee shop table with a friend and been like, can you believe that so-and-so did such and such? Right? Or sometimes it's the opposite, Can you believe that the so-and-sos refused to do this and that? And then our friend, with all well-meaning, right, across the table, vehemently agrees, right? And we both get that seemingly cathartic experience of sharing in our rage. Right, of sharing in our discontent. But when I take a step back from that, I start to see that, I don't know if that's exactly healthy. Right? If I look at myself and my mind as a garden, right, and then I know that if I want roses to grow, I have to plant roses, I have to tend those roses, and I have to regularly water those roses. And if there's something over there on the other side of the garden that I don't want to grow, I need to starve it of my attention. I need to stop watering that area and let it die back. And so I think this is where it begins, right? Is understanding ourselves and why that's so difficult to do. Why that's so difficult to do. And why it's so much easier, right, to be much more reactionary, much more judgmental, much less thoughtful. Right? These are circumstances that we're in largely as a function of our evolutionary biology and evolutionary psychology. We're not terrible people, we're not monsters who are personally failing in some way. We're just human beings. We're not exactly designed to interface with all of this information that we have available to us. And that takes me into week two. In week two, I want to unpack what I call mindfulness of the news. Because, even if I really deeply understand myself, even if I sit on my cushion every day and try to be calm and loving and generous and honest and kind, that's not necessarily going to make it easy for me to open up the internet and just take it to the face, Horror, death, destruction, famine, genocide, deceit, colonization, racism, sexism, and so forth. This is a separate skill in many ways from the skill of simply understanding ourselves. Just as if we were about to operate a piece of very dangerous equipment, whether it was a complex machine in a factory or a weapon or whatever, it doesn't matter. The first thing I might say to you if I was going to train you in this very dangerous thing is I might say okay, well, first, how are you doing today? Right? So you're seeing week one, is today the right day for you to be risking life and limb to learn how to use this device? Because this device can kill you. right? And then if I assess, like, okay, you're doing pretty calm, you're ready for this, then I would, right, ease you in very, very slowly in small doses. You might spend a lot of time watching me do it first, And in my view, interacting with the news, especially the way it comes at us in modern society today, is just like this. I don't think that we have been trained in how painful, toxic, destabilizing, even despair-producing this content and its quantity, right? How much of it we get, and its consistency, right? That it's not the daily paper anymore, right? It's 24 hours a day. Ding, ding, ding. Another 20 killed here. Another horror there. At the end of the day, I don't think we're designed for this. I know my nervous system doesn't work very well with it. I think that we're largely, genetically 99.6% chimpanzee. We're designed to have a pretty low informational or data input quantity in our lives. We're designed to be outside and be with about 100, 150 people that we know and love and trust really well. And instead, we're inside. We have these screens flashing in our faces, giving us information about the billions of other people all around the world. And so I have found, as I've looked at that harsh reality, a lot of this is bucket over the head with cold water stuff. I had to just accept, like, okay, I can give you this laundry list, the length of my arm, of reasons why I want to be checking the news every day. But the reality is much closer to that I have an addiction to something that's not healthy for me. And I need to face that. And I need to help my friends face that. And so that's what week 2 is going to be all about. It's just really looking in the mirror at that and how painful that is. And how helpless we can feel when we take a step back from, liking certain things on Instagram and disliking others every day, right? Because that makes us feel like we're doing something, right? It makes us feel like we're participating. It makes us feel less helpless. And that needs to be understood. And that vulnerability that we have and how we act out inside of it and how we can get out of it, because you can, that needs to be all unpacked. And so that's week 2. And then week 3, I want to talk about the beloved community. This is a term that was bandied back and forth between Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Thich Nhat Hanh when they were buddies back in the day, activists trying to promote peace and equality, trying to take a step back from wars of colonization bred out of racism. They talked about this idea of a beloved community, of a world where rather than watering our instincts to be constantly at odds with each other, because we have that in our nature, but instead to diligently, over long periods of time, not days and weeks, but months and years, to water the flower inside of us of community, of concern for the people around us. We're designed to love each other. It doesn't always feel that way. It doesn't always look that way. But man, think about the last time somebody showed you a brand new baby, and how much you would have done, how you would have hung yourself upside down just to make that baby smile. Right? How happy it would make you to hold that baby, even if it pooped and vomited all over you. You know? This is not something we have to work for as human beings, right? We are hardwired to love each other in a very deep and very real way. And so in week 3, I want to focus on that. And I think if we can take even some of the energy that we put into fostering more divisiveness and talking about how we're right and they're wrong, and talking about how, you know, we're doing it the correct way and what they're doing is abominable, then I think we have a chance. Then I think we have a chance of actually step by step creating the community that we desire. I want to take questions from all of you because I'm sure you all have wonderful things to say about this topic. We're all living it right now. But I'll end with just one story. I remember when I was training to become a monk in the tradition of the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, Plum Village School. One of my mentors, a brother, a monastic, asked me a very direct question. No surprise, right? Zen. There's a reason why, you know, the mythical deity in Buddhism that represents understanding, the Bodhisattva Manjushri, is usually depicted holding a sword. You know? Because if you want to understand, you have to cut through the BS. You know? And so my mentor asked me, he said, Dave, I want to know, do you think that the United States is a community? And if yes, do you think it is a community of compassion? Do you think it's a community of love and understanding? I didn't answer him immediately. I took about a week to think about it. And when I came back to him, this is what I concluded, and I stand by this today, many years later. My answer was, where I am standing, where Dave Kenneally is, the room that I'm in, is a community. Because that's how I treat the people I'm interacting with. I don't care if they're pushing a cart next to me in Costco. I don't care if they're my closest friends. If you're within my sphere of influence, you're being treated like community. Because that's how I want to treat everybody. And that's how I want to be treated by everybody. And then is that community a community of love and understanding? Is it a community of compassion? It is when I am compassionate. Right? Love and understanding is present in the room when I am love and understanding in the room. That much I know. And so if I want the future to have generosity, honesty, kindness, joy, compassion, inclusivity, equanimity, all the things that make up love in our practice, if I want the future to contain those things, then it is my job to be those things now in the present moment. Because I know that if none of us keep that torch alive now, that it will not exist in the future. Because the future, as Thich Nhat Hanh has taught us, is made of the present moment. There's nothing in the future that isn't here now. And so in week 3, I want to talk about this responsibility that we carry. Now, not to necessarily be, waving a sign or writing an angry post, although there is a time and a place for those things. But I'm talking about a deeper responsibility that I feel we have as human beings, to use the old expression, to be the change we want to see in the world, as Gandhi said. And what that means, and what teachers like Dr. King and Thich Nhat Hanh have already offered us for how to do this, how to community organize, how to get together and make change happen, rather than to put so much energy into just railing against the failure of our politicians or our neighbors or people on the other side of the globe when they don't make that kind of change happen. So I hope you'll all consider the course. I'm going to drop the link to it in the chat there, or you can just go to davekenneally.com and it's front and center there. You can check it out. And the early bird pricing, which is $100 off, ends on Friday, May 31st. So be sure to sign up before then. And there's scholarships available, and all of that's explained on the website. To be clear, no one will be turned away for lack of funds. That's not how this works, right? If this kind of work that we're doing collectively is only available to the wealthy, well, then we can't call it activism. We cannot call it revolutionary. And when I look at our teacher, the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, and his life as a peace activist and as a revolutionary, I see that he tried to help everybody. I grew up broke as a joke in the Bronx, and I managed to become a monk in his tradition. I was not discriminated against because of my poverty. And so I would like to practice in the same way. So as you spread the word about this, please really emphasize to people that we want them to sign up no matter what they can pay. No matter what they can pay. It doesn't matter. Their practice with us together in community will be their donation, will be their gift. Thank you all so much for listening.